Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here with you Monday, September 20th. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I can't wait to have this conversation with our friend Wendy. We're going to bring her out in a moment, but I also wanted to remind you before we get started a couple things. Hey, hit that like button right now. If you haven't done so, smash that button, get active in the comments. The show is always better when you are here active, leaving your comments, your questions. We're going to engage as we always do. Just a reminder, it is also Hunger Action Month. We are going to be talking about Move for Hunger every Thursday in the month of September. This Thursday, we have an amazing fundraiser that we're going to do with a bunch of industry professionals. Can't wait to raise a whole bunch of money. Last year, we raised $40,000. We're already over $10,000 this month. So make sure to get active. You can also donate now. Is there a link, Stacy? Donate. Oh, there it is. moveforhunger.org/LoveRelo21. Donate now. You're going to, t-shirts, socks, we're going to be giving you all sorts of freebies and things like that. So thanks everyone who donated. Keep donating, please. And don't forget to follow our Love and Relo page on LinkedIn. Follow the page and you will have access to exclusive content like Peggy Smith coming on just this week, launching Her Story Live. Her Story Live is going to be a bunch of women's stories in relocation, business, global mobility, and it's going to be fantastic. Shout out to Peggy for doing this and Johnny Chesnowski for making it happen. So follow the Love and Relo page on LinkedIn. It will not be coming from my personal page. It'll be coming from the Love and Relo page. So want to make sure you all get a piece of that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring out Wendy Galati, co-founding partner, LivinLocal Furnished Accommodations. Wendy, how are you doing?
I'm super great. I'm like super duper great. Excited to be here with you. I'm a little starstruck, actually.
Well, thank you, Wendy, for being here. Where in the world are you right now?
I am in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, on the west coast, about 2 hours north of Seattle.
Oh, I love Vancouver. I've been once to Vancouver. I had the opportunity to speak on a panel at the International Association of Movers Conference. It was my first international flight, if you can call it that, from the U.S. to Vancouver, but it was amazing. And I love the city. I love how it's right there on the water. I think there's a Gulf gas station in the middle of the bay, and you see these planes land in the water and fill up their tank. It's just incredible. I absolutely loved it, Wendy. Have you lived there your whole life, or whereabouts are you
No,
from?
I'm from Vancouver Island originally, so just a small town off of Vancouver. I should say small island, but it's actually larger than the island of New York. So or island of Manhattan rather. So it's large, but it's where our capital is in Victoria. I think it's interesting that this was your first international flight, considering what you got going on lately.
Typical American. Yeah, I've been trying to really branch out. Hey, if you're watching right now, everybody that's watching right now, do me a favor. Let me know where in the world you are right now. Throw it in the comments, who you are, where you are, what you're doing right now. I want to know. Let's take a quick let's see where everybody's at, Wendy. What do you say?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Look at this. We got Tim Quirk checking in. What's up, Tim, from Western New York? Looking forward to today's show. We love our neighbor to the north. Happy Election Day. Wendy, today's Canadian Election Day.
It is. And we were just talking about flying. So for us, I think that's very much like when the captain comes on board and they tell you to put your head between your knees and just hope it turns out okay.
Oh my gosh. And so in the US, when it's election day, I feel like, okay, and I want to say maybe not but what I do is I always end up having some drinks and turning on, the news, my cable news network of choice, and watching till about 2 a.m. or 3 until they finally call it. What is your typical election day?
I think there's certainly, we got great healthcare up here. So, depending on we have like pre-election and like early voting and stuff like that. So the games actually begin, quite about a week ago. So I think this will be an interesting election. I think people are hopefully we'll see a large turnout, across the country, so that people that want to have something to say about it get a say. But yeah, a lot of it has to do with depending on who who you're voting for, whether you're, the amount of that you're drinking probably would be impacted by the results they post on the daily there. So
you've been counting votes already for a while. So we don't count. So we take all the votes in here in the States, but we don't count them until the day of, which is really kind of crazy because then it extends the counting for a week when you could have just been counting for a week. Anyway, we have a lot to learn.
But you guys always had some trouble with the counting, though. I thought maybe that's probably why they save it down. They save it till the end, right?
Yeah, we don't count good. Yeah, we don't. You're right. We got some problems there as well. Jamie Highbench here from Human, Mississippi. What's up, Jamie? I'd love to hear your thoughts about corporate housing and temp accommodations. Jamie's an expert that tunes in all the time. Danny Herskowitz. Hey, Ben and Wendy from Glomo team. Looking forward to the show. What's up, Danny? Danny does recruiting for us here at Glomo and our clients. Jazz, hey, can you please help me? I'm actually having a business proposal for U.S. clients, but don't know the exact process to contact them. That's an interesting.
Sure. We're looking. You're looking to do some. You have a business proposal for clients in the U.S. and you're not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, Jess.
I don't
Jess,
know what that.
DM me and let's see if we can't sort it out there and get to the root of the question there. Karen Sanborn, hey, from Carrollton. What's up, Karen? Jamie, cheers to the North. Yep, look at that.
Hey, Jamie. Jamie's everywhere. He's everywhere all the time.
He is.
He's like the Scarlet Pimpernel.
That's a great reference. I don't get it. I don't get the reference.
Yeah, he's like here. He's there. He's everywhere.
There you go. Mary Lee Bratt, hello from Minnesota. That's a Roy Kent reference where I'm from. All right, Mary Lee Bratt, hello from Minnesota. Jana checking in from Rio. What's up, Jana? It's good to see you. Shane, Wendy.
Shane, buddy.
This is great. Farrell checking in. British Columbia is so beautiful. Jealous a little. For sure. Christina, hello from Pittsburgh. Case of the Mondays coming off that Steelers loss. Yeah, you should write Jamie. I bet you guys could really put your heads together on that one. Figure out what we're Calgary, Alberta in the house.
Michael Stern, my very, very, very fantastic business partner.
So this is great. So I'm going to ask you this. So first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about LivinLocal Furnished Apartments. I want to ask you this question because I was looking through kind of your history and everything, and I watched an interview you had done a couple years ago. And it looks like this is a new-ish venture for you. Tell me about what made you co-found LivinLocal Furnished Accommodations.
What made me co-found LivinLocal? Well, I hadn't really. I've been in the industry for 16 years, and you have to love this. It's like the Hotel California, really. So I worked with a different picture show for a number of years, and I thought I was going to get out. And then I had been chatting with Michael Stern, who is basically maybe single-handedly one of the smartest, most intelligent, super smart, like Mensa, great, funny people. And he said, you know what, I always wanted to open up in Vancouver, but I never wanted to compete against you. And I said, well, so in 7 days we got together, we met, and LivinLocal was born, and it's been, it's like Mr. Toad's wild ride so far. So it's been
That's
a lot
so
of
cool.
fun. Yeah.
So you and Michael knew each other for a while, obviously had a healthy amount of mutual respect for one another as kind of competitors, kind of from afar, maybe partners, and decided to put it together. That's really fascinating to me. And from an American perspective, we feel like we know a fair amount about corporate housing over here. Although as I'm learning, as I'm traveling to like London and other places, it's really done differently all over the globe. Could you help me understand? And we have a very American audience. We have a little bit from Europe as well. In fact, I see Richard checking in here as well. Richard saying howdy from London. Looking forward when he's the best. How does the Canadian market compare to the U.S. market and maybe even the European market?
Well, I think the biggest difference in the U.S., and I'm not intimate, depends on where we want to talk about in Europe, because I think there's various different models, in various different regions there. But when we look at the U.S. model, they have a provider or a company has the ability to go to an apartment community, rent some furniture, and then jettison that furniture into this micro environment and create, a wonderful, warm place for people to live. Up here in Vancouver and throughout Canada, we're dealing with a condominiumized environment. So you're talking about with 170 units, you're talking about having probably 163 different owners that you're dealing with one by one on all of those individual units.
So instead of going to the building and saying, I'd like 3 2-bedrooms, a 1-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom, or something for a group move or some sort of project that have coming in, you have to say, is Mrs. Smith's unit available in June, or something like that? I mean, how do you even attack the inventory? How do you even find the inventory?
The secret sauce. Okay. I knew you'd get it out of me, man. You just didn't think I'd break this early. I think it's interesting that you put it that way, because I don't think although we do have buildings that we, in our markets, we have buildings that we target for sure that are corporate housing friendly or service department friendly. I think we actually target the owners before we target the property. So to your point, instead of being able to say, is Mrs. Smith's apartment available, mid-June, we're looking for Mrs. Smith, and then having a conversation about, what kind of apartment do you have? What does that look like? What are the bylaws? Like, there's a lot of, but the relationships that we enter into are long-term. I think that's another big difference, because you can, as I understand it in the US, put furniture in, you can go in for 3 months, 6 months, a year, a month, whatever you want. Here, you're entering into these long-term trust relationships that are involved with somebody giving you their asset and saying, here's, $1 million worth of real estate. Take care of the baby.
That is so interesting, because you're right. Somebody's making a huge commitment. There's a length there of commitment. And I like what you're saying about, so you're going out, you're talking to the owner first, getting that commitment, that relationship, versus from the building. I imagine that requires a lot different, and I'm getting all in kind of in the mix and the secret sauce, but I think it's fascinating because we have people who, like I'm looking here at Valerie, hi, Wendy Deluxe tuning in. Right. So, I mean, these are potential partners, people who have probably used you or know of you. We got people checking here. Wendy Galati, such a smart, savvy woman. Love her. That's from Barb Hale. What's up, Barb?
Well, Barb's on my personal board of directors. Like, she's like, I love Barb. She's like amazing. So yeah, thank you for. I messaged her. I just wanted to make sure at least one person was watching.
Barb's great. I spent the week, not the week, weeks and much, but I spent a few days. I mean, with Barb down in St. Pete Beach last week, and she is awesome and gave me lots of
tequila.
I was gonna say free advice, but yes, tequila was involved. No, Barb's amazing. It's funny you mentioned personal board of directors, and the first person that told me about that concept was Paige Holden from Zonex. So she came on the show and talked about having her personal board of directors, and really got me thinking a lot about that. Tell us about that concept for people that are watching.
Well, I think it's super important. I mean, we all have, in your business, you have your management team, or in larger companies, you'll have a board of directors. For me personally, I think it's personal board of directors. What it means to me is having a group of people that I can rely on for different things, or use as sounding boards. And whilst, I may sit on a few other boards, like I said, I have a hardcore group that is, I've been very, very blessed, especially through this process, through the development, both the exiting of a long-term tenure with a different company, and then opening up and obviously coming at this as an owner, and that value, that it's just such a value concept to be able to say, pick up the phone and say, can I just run something by you, or and vice versa, and surround yourself with talent and, incredible people that bring different things. They're specialists in their own different ways. I think it's very valuable.
A few things that you said there in knowing Barb too. I mean, as an entrepreneur going into this new, big, scary, exciting, audacious world, having people who are like-minded, who have done it before, that can kind of guide you and give you that confidence to say, yes, this is possible. Because 90% of the people will look at you like you're crazy, because they've never taken that leap, right? Yeah. And then there's like 10% of people that have done it before and say, no, I get it. And I get why you're doing it, and that's awesome. And Barb's also been there for me, and there's other people like that have been there for me. And it's almost like entrepreneurs like find each other and then create these kind of like little groups where they mentor one another. I mean, have you found this in your 2.5 years of doing this?
Yeah. I mean, my business partner, Michael Stern, for sure, a member of my board, right? I mean, he's not only my business partner, but he's my friend. And like I said, I've had just an immense amount of respect for him. I'm not just saying that because he's on the line. But, Barb, I mean, I sought out Barb. I'm not going to lie. I hunted Barb down. I mean, we were at a conference in Chicago, the CHPA Women's Conference for Forum. And, it's hard to miss Barb in a room because she's so
tall.
She's, like an Amazon, right? And so demure. And so, I walked right up to her. I was like, hi, my name is Wendy, and I just opened my own company up in Vancouver. And she was just like, Barbara has a way of making you feel like you're the only person in the room. So she's extremely talented at that. She is selfless in terms of the way that she gives of her time and her thought process. And, there's a couple other people that resonate in the industry for me like that, like Maria Schmidt, who used to be with Oakwood, is now with Artisan, another like super, super, super smart lady. I got Amber Zimpelman, who used to be with Oakwood as well, now with Aboda. She also worked with me at High Street. She's like grounds me, right? Like, and I can tell her anything. And then there's a couple board members, which will remain nameless. Cindy Perrin, I have to mention her because we grew up together and she knows where all the bodies are buried. And so if I don't mention her, that breaks the
You'll be another body.
Yeah.
No, this is cool. And I appreciate you shouting people out too, because you know what? They deserve to be shouted out. Let's see here. We got a couple people checking in. Is somebody on your personal board of directors and you're watching right now and you want to shout somebody out, let us know. Sandra Clara checking in from Alexandria, Virginia, family roots in the Vancouver Island area. So, hey, cuz. Look at that. Stephen Hoffman, hello from Beantown. You're in Boston right now, Steve? What are you doing in Boston? Interesting. Sandra Clary's laughing at Jamie. That's great. Always good. Lane, hi from Stockholm. Lana, what's going on? It's good to see you. Janet Turner saying hi from Central Florida, the original producer here on Love and Relo. Got to see her last week in Florida as well. This is great. Barb. OMG. That's great. Look at this. Janet Turner, I want Barb Jew on my personal board of directors. Yeah, super cool. So I want to kind of get back to kind of corporate housing because we got kind of veered off there. We're talking a little bit about comparing the kind of the challenges in the Canadian market to the US and maybe the UK. What are some of the other challenges? Help us understand the kind of the difference in the way business is done, because you're right. Over here, we have one model that I think people are very familiar with. I learned when I went over to London that there's an enormous inventory of apart hotels and these very established providers with very kind of cookie cutter kind of inventory, and it seems very off the shelf and easy to access through technology and things like that. So walk us through, like, how do you, what can you expect when you go to Canada looking for accommodations?
Well, I mean, we do have some of that. I mean, we have great folks like Level Stay that own their own building. Mm-hmm. And so to your point, it's kind of cookie cutter, same couch, same, fake ficus, whatever is all going to be in the room. Similar to the model that my business partner, Mike Stern, has with Exec Suites in Calgary. He also, owns his own building, controls his own space. But for the most part, what you're dealing with, I think, is providers like LivinLocal, High Street Accommodations, and various others, Today Living Group out in Toronto, a whole bunch of folks like that are individual apartments. And you have to go and you start that relationship, like you said, negotiate what that's going to look like in terms of, is it going to be a revenue share or is it going to be what we call a fixed rent, so more of a traditional lease, because there's those two things that come into play.
Help us understand the difference between a rev share and a fixed lease, if you would, for people out there that may not be familiar.
Yeah, sure. So you can either enter into a traditional lease where I'm paying, $2,500 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment, unfurnished, for 2 years or what have you, or you can come and be partners with us. And what we would do is work on, in our model is a 65-35 split. So, so they're in the public domain. So if you are an owner, we, whatever revenue we produce for you, you retain 65% of that. And generally speaking, that should get you above market rate. So that's the magic.
So they hold the inventory, they take the risk, they commensurately get above market rates.
Yep.
And it's probably easier to scale for companies like yourself as well.
Well, yes and no, but that has inherent problems too, because you want to have some sort of standard, if you will. So for us, we insist that things like housewares, linens, we offer a full FF&E, or furnitures, fixtures, and equipment program, so that our design team can go in, and rather than waiting for an owner to bring in Julio Iglesias' mother's couch in the living room because it was really good at their house one time, you're getting that modern current look, but it permeates throughout the inventory, because we don't have furniture rental, so you can't go pick something online and say just drop that in.
So you don't have furniture rental. So when we have these big furniture rental places, Court and Brook, and I know a bunch of corporate housing providers out there that have furniture shop. I think Barbie Deluxe has one. You can just kind of go and you can get the same sofa, generally speaking, and the same lamp and the same whatever. How do you do that without that resource?
Well, you just do it because it's what it's like, it's the same thing. It's what you grew up doing. This is what it's always been like. And it's really interesting because, we had the Olympics here in 2010, and I've had conversations, especially with, my friends over there at Court and Jeff and all those cast of characters saying like, look, like, can't you do something? Can't you bring us up, some bring us up some furniture, ship it up in containers. But there's this whole thing with the border that was, pre-COVID, that's taxed and duty and this, that. So it's just been a real challenge. But for us, part of that is, I think, what makes it so special is that our places are really, really cool. Like our apartments are beautiful. Like they are, there's nothing, no one else has product like LivinLocal. It really, I don't mean to make this all about us, but it really is, our product is beautiful. It's made for the space. It's designed not only to, like, when you walk in, to deliver like that wow factor, but it's actually fully like functional. And we have to buy really good furniture because you don't want to be replacing this stuff in 2 years. And so it just, it creates an ambiance that is different than that apart hotel, or where everything is the same, obviously inherent challenges with saying, here's this apartment or this apartment, but it does give us advantages as well, because you want to come up here. Well, do you like this? What do you like? We probably have it.
So that's so interesting. So that's so interesting because when I'm listening to the corporate folks speak, the corporate mobility managers speak. For instance, Jack Jampel ran a panel down at SRC in St. Pete Beach, and he was talking to folks from all over, and the HR people time and time again kept saying, employee experience for us is number one. And then when you're talking about that wow factor and being able to walk in and really get that wow, that wow is the manifestation of a positive employee experience, in my opinion. But from a sales and marketing standpoint, I'm also like, well, how do you market something where it could be this or it could be that? But I think what you just brought up is really interesting. So do you give clients the opportunity to choose furniture packages and to kind of say, hey, here's what we have in our inventory, and you can put this in or put that in?
No, but we don't. But but in a way we do, I guess. It's sort of like an a la carte menu, because let's just say you want to be in a 1-bedroom downtown Vancouver in Yaletown. Well, I've got 1-bedroom apartments that range from 600 square feet at the smallest to 1,100 square feet at the on the top. But maybe, I don't know, maybe living room is more important. So we've got all of these different apartments and they look differently. So what becomes extremely important is accuracy on imagery. So you'll never see like, this is what it used to look like, or worst case scenario, oh, I wish it still looked like that when I got here.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
really, it's current. And when you talk about the employee experience, because this is a really big, we lead with this in a lot of the relationships that we have with some of the big Fortune 500 companies that are based now in Vancouver, is that there's an international competition for talent, and they want what they want, and they want the smart TVs, and they want it to be chill, and they want to be able to have friends over and have it be like look at my place and have this experience, because odds are none of those guys will ever own a couch. They're going to be they're mobile people. They're nomads. They're running around from job to job, contract to contract, and living in different places, because that's that age group and that's that demographic that's going to do that. So if they're going to hang their hat in Vancouver, they want to do it in a really cool place that's that speaks to them. And I think the fact that my apartment doesn't look like my buddy across whose desk is two desks down. Our spaces are different, and I think they reflect people's personality, and they allow for personal interpretation of what home means to them, and we can deliver on that, because if you want something that's a little bit more flamboyant, or you want something that's a little where the office is really super important. I mean, there's all of those things that we can put together. But yeah, we don't have the ability. I mean, it's like lipstick. You can't, just when you finally pick a color, they discontinue it. I don't understand. But it's true. The same is true with lamps and furniture styles and all of that. So you have to get a little creative on the baseline, right? Because throw pillows are one thing, but it's I don't know. I mean, I wonder how that is. I mean, even with furniture rental, how do people pick furniture rental? I don't know. How does the audience do it?
I'd love to know. Let's ask people in the audience here. I know we got Barb in there, and I know we got a few people here. Let us know what your thoughts are on the decorations and how to source the furniture and what folks are looking for. I'd love to also hear from our corporate folks. We got Vinny Valverde here. Hi, everyone from beautiful Colorado. Vinny, you're in Colorado. Is that for the wedding? I hope it was great. Hope you and Lauren and the kids had a great time. Vinny, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on corporate housing and what folks are looking for out there. Let us know here. Let's get active in the comments. Robin says, hey, Wendy, so good to see you live and in person. Fantastic. Steve's correcting me. I live in Boston. Great. Forgot that. I saw you in Chicago. I just assumed you always were in Chicago. I don't know what's wrong with me. Janet's got questions. We got questions. Jason Rollins. Hi, Ben and Wendy. Awesome. Jason, what's your thoughts? I'd love to know what's important from a client perspective, or also what are you seeing as key differentiators? I'd love to know. Janet's got a question because Janet's in the stick business here with the furniture. Janet says, do you stock your own inventory of new furniture? How do you handle that?
Yeah, well,
how many couches do you own, Wendy?
Yeah, more than more than I can do a lot of therapy. I own a lot of couches. We're working towards that. One of the problems we're having right now, I mean, we're a young company, so we're only 2 years, 2.5 years old, and then being hit with a pandemic, and we went from literally working out of 2 storage lockers when we first started, like one for keys, because that was under like silo lockdown. And then we moved to a laneway house. And then just, what is a month or so ago, we moved to, 5,000 square foot office with warehouse. So yes, I will have my own furniture. Yeah. It's been
awesome. Congratulations.
I know, AC.
Nice. I want to ask you, you talked about the pandemic, and I wanted to know your thoughts on the pandemic. How did the pandemic affect you and your business?
Wow. Well, like everybody, we're all going to walk away with certain scars. For us, I think it did a bunch of things. I mean, first of all, I'm going to go back to my partner. It really, put rubber to the road in terms of the relationship. You can imagine that we opened the business, June of mid-June 2019, so just over 6 months, and then things were groovy. Things were super groovy, so groovy that I could walk up to Barb Hale and say, hi, I want to be your friend. That says a lot. So we started off with that, and then all of a sudden we were actually at Chippa in I want to say in Austin, maybe. Was it Austin? Yeah, where people are starting my staff is phoning. They're like, hey, we just had a cancellation. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, but somebody else on the phone wants to cancel too. They're talking about this Chinese flu. And I had, so it went from like literally I had 9 days, the borders closed, things were crazy. So we had a choice, like, it was like sink or swim. And it was interesting because my mom is a retired OR nurse. So it was a conversation that I had with her, and she was like, well, how's it going, honey? She's a little out of it. So she's like, every day is great. Right. So I was like, still great, Mom. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. She says, well, I'm so glad I'm not a nurse anymore. I said, well, what do you mean? And she says, well, can you imagine going to the hospital every day and bringing that risk home to you and your sister? This is before they talked about essential workers. This is before they talked about frontline workers. This is, again, the throes of full-on panic. And I'm talking about us, my partner and I in our business, of course, the pandemic too, but it was like this light bulb went off, and it was like, well, of course we should do something, because we're actually in the crisis business. If you think about corporate housing, floods, fires, catastrophes, all this stuff, we've done all of these things. This is what we do. We help people.
Right.
So we managed to get on the phone, and we ended up like placing like an insane amount of people, like 500, like healthcare workers, doctors, paramedics, nurses, firefighters, policemen, like all these people. And I don't want to say, I want to say we in the true context of the word. Imagine, if you will, we have all our frenemies, our healthy competitors, all this kind of stuff. I was phoning people going like, hey, we filled all our apartments. Do you have any apartments that we could fill? And I mean, on a phone call, like terms were done, agreements were made. We basically facilitated rooming lists. We ended up filling like 2 or 3 whole hotels when there was nobody there. So for us, it did a bunch of things. I mean, one of the coolest things about corporate housing is the people that work in our industry, and the ancillary industries like relocation, and I mean, it was what allowed for us to go from this little company to now, one of the biggest on the West Coast. Was the ability to work with each other, to have people like, I want to shout out to, again, Javier and Ivan over at Level Stay. I mean,
Javier, I know Javier at Level.
Yeah,
I
phoned him and he was like, hell yeah, what's the rate? And I was like, well, here's the thing, buddy. And I'm like, plus I'm going to have to pay you in like 30 days, because we had to figure out, like, imagine what it was like for everybody, because you're rocking and rolling. Then all of a sudden the world vaporizes, corporations vaporize. And not only do corporations vaporize, their accounting departments vaporize. So I'm not getting paid 30, 60, 90. Remember Mrs. Wall, Sheila or whatever is sitting over there expecting me to pay for her apartment. I'm like, I got to do that. Which we did. We paid on time every time. So yeah, it was,
what was the hardest part of that? Was it the cash flow or what was it?
Toilet paper, probably.
Toilet paper?
You're freaking, you have people like, I mean, what? What?
Talk about something that needs to be on time every time. Toilet paper. Forget money in the bank. Toilet paper needs to be on time. That's a no-fail.
It was like, and you know what we did? Here's how funny this is, because one of the problems that bubbled up for us, pardon the pun, is that we were like, okay, if we fill all these things, and then we're phoning these partners, we're like, okay, so you're going to start them with some basics, right? Whether that be like, because they had to be able to wash their scrubs and whatever. So I need detergent in there, because the world was crazy up here. Like, things were shut down. Nobody had anything. I mean, what is with the run on canned vegetables with the fresh product? I don't get it. But and there's a lot of issues that I'm still working through about how the grocery line worked with the lines on the floor. So you go one way down one aisle, up the other aisle, but both ends are like no man's land. I didn't get it at all. So, but can you imagine that we get these people, and now we're trying to help them, and you can't get toilet paper. So what we did is it occurred to us, like, we had all these hotels that started phoning saying, hey, I understand that you filled XYZ hotel and you filled the Executive. I understand that you filled the Holiday Inn. So they were talking to each other, so we're getting all these calls. And then I was like, well, I think we're good in that area. But she's like, well, we're shutting down if you don't take business. I was like, really? What are you doing with your sanitary products? What are you doing with your cleaning supplies? And what was amazing is that literally in my house, in the foyer of my house, it was like wall to wall box over box over box over box, because the hotels, as soon as we told them what we were doing, they were like, well, can we send you that stuff? And I was like, I'd like to buy it from you, right? Like, or trade it, or, trade it for something. I don't know anything. And they were like, heck no, everybody stepped up, and it was just, wow. It was an incredible thing. And, they say, good things happen when you surround yourself with really good people. And like I said, we did, and it turned out pretty good. So,
that is such a moving story. And what I'm taking away from that too, that story is just about the relationships that can be built in crisis. Like when you were talking about calling up all your frenemies and just knocking out terms and knocking out rates over the phone, and really just, kind of all these other things go out the window when crisis hits, and you really have to triage the situation. And seeing people step up and working together and collaborating in that way, I have a feeling that's going to be a long-lasting legacy of the COVID pandemic, or the solid relationships that came out of it. What are your thoughts?
Can you imagine picking up the phone? You're a brand new company. Everything is going sideways, right? Like everything's going sideways. And I'm phoning going like, do you have 30 rooms for me? Right? Like, can you give me 30 rooms? Like today. And by the way, I don't want to pay for them until like much later. And this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're doing it. And not only that, but we were able to go to the market. Like we phoned every single solitary provider that there was that we could figure out. And some like jumped on, others, they were dealing with their own struggles, clearly. But not only that, but they didn't come with this like rate thing. It was like, what's the number? I'm like, this is what our number is. We need you to match the number so that every number is the same, right? So it doesn't matter where they stay. It's not about, and like I said, we had so many people that just were like, the amount of giving that went on, like just, and not only that, because you imagine like we have to meet and greet these people, right? So like, to figure out like, how do you put the keys in the Ziploc bag and fire that baby across the street, right? Like a Hail Mary, right? There you go. You got a place to stay. Please don't touch anything on the way in and way out. Plus dealing with the communities that we operate our business in, and saying like, hang on, because they're like, who are you putting in here? And wait a second, you're bringing this into the building, and having to go through that and explain that like these are the people that know best how not to spread, right? Like, but that inside gave us a huge inroad into these buildings that were like, wow, what do you mean you're taking their garbage out for them because you don't want them to leave the space, right? Like it was truly remarkable. Like, and then we were able to take what we did here, and then we were on the phone, like literally for like a week, phoning people in different countries, different cities, like both in Canada, the US, Australia, Spain, UK, going like, this is what we've done. This is how we found business. Here's what we're doing. Here's the letters that we wrote to the various entities. And so we were able to do way like just the movement, similar to what you guys are doing with, like hunger and these things that are with us all the time. It's just takes, a little bit of sharing and not so much worried about like, ooh, like someone's going to steal the secret sauce, right? Like, to do that on a handshake and have people in the business, being a new business owner, and say like, I'd like you to give me this and I'll pay you later for that. And they just did it. And it was humbling at best. And it was an honorable thing to do. And it was a time to be kind, like humankind. And these people just, it's just, I can go on for days about this because it's shocking. It's shocking to me that the amount of support that was given freely, and without what's in it for me, I love hearing it. It was awesome.
I love hearing it. And you never forget those people who gave you that line of credit, or who trusted you first, or who was that first client for you, or, you never forget that. And I think one of the things that I totally underestimated when I was an employee versus being an entrepreneur, things like cash flow, right?
Yeah.
And things like credit, right? And the difference
or no flow cash flow,
Yeah, the difference between a net 0, net 15, net 30, net 45 term. Yeah, no, it's real. It's real, And so I love this story. It's so inspirational. Aaron saying, wow, what a great way to innovate. That's such a great response and pivot, housing hospital workers in the midst of the pandemic. Bravo. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we never have to deal with that market segment ever again. but it was like, that's nothing compared to what we saw. Like, you know, it's really quite, it was a beautiful thing. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it really, yeah. And yeah, so interesting. So, and then there's Barb shouting out there. That's awesome. Richard's mentioned here some furniture rental companies in the UK which furnishes whole buildings with each unit in various styles. I think it's actually a US company saying Home Wings, but also shout out to Full House for furniture rental. Interesting.
Yeah, neither of which are in Canada. So we
That's
have Full House,
crazy.
which, yeah, we don't have furniture rental.
It seems like a real opportunity. Is there no way to
Come on up? Come on up.
She's like, yeah, show
Post
me.
my details. Come on up.
Rent me some furniture. Anybody?
Yeah.
Where's our friends from Court and Brooke and all the others? I'd love to know that. We had a gentleman from Court on. Seems like a real opportunity. And Canada is not a small country.
Well, for us, it's the geographics, right? Like it's how big we are, right? So we got U.S. has a lot of cities very close to each other. You know, that's part of our geography is, you know, there's 14 major cities in Canada, really. And then you have there's long, expansive pieces of real estate in between. So, you know, warehousing, where would you put it? And, you know, in the big cities, it's really expensive. So I think that's part of the challenge, that the obstacle that furniture rental has had. But you're anytime happy to give you some warehouse space.
So how's it looking right now? So that was kind of in the throes of the pandemic, but how's it looking right now in terms of demand? Because we're having some really crazy supply and demand issues right now here in the U.S.
We could probably rent a cot with a naked light bulb on P1 right now. So it is, no, it's nuts. I mean,
what's the rate for the naked cot with the light bulb, Wendy?
It's a premium to market for sure. Here's the deal. So I was explaining how the demand this morning to one of our global partners. I was explaining it this way. In the busiest time in Vancouver, we're a small little regional provider, so I can't speak to, you know, the rest of the country I know is in a similar situation. But let's look at it this way. So before the Olympics, if we got 30 calls a day, because if you're in corporate housing, people call you because it's yours to lose, right? You're not just kicking a tire thinking, hey, I'm going to move to Vancouver. Maybe I should check out accommodations. So, you know, it's a hot lead, not a lukewarm one. And so if you got 30 in a day, that would be like, bingo, what a great day we had today. We had 30 requests for Vancouver, blah, 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 blah. Last week on Thursday, I think we had 111 requests in one day. And then it's like, so double the requests, the number of requests that what we thought was at the high, double that. And then compound that with a shortage of labor. You know, we're a small company, right? You just don't have the bodies, right? Like you just don't have the bodies and housekeepers and, you know, and our service ninjas that go out there and greet people. I mean, so if you know anybody that lives in Vancouver that needs a job, Wendy Galati, LivinLocal.
Are there any people in Vancouver that need a job? Because I mean, that's a big issue here in the States, right? There's just a very low unemployment rate right now. And the cost of labor is super high right now for jobs that we would consider kind of like blue collar jobs, where the rates have been, you know, kind of artificially suppressed for a long time. And now they're just really expensive and people just aren't working for less than.
Well, you know, and I think there's that. And I think there has to be, you know, I mean, at LivinLocal, we pay above market again, because, you know, our people that's what we do. We're in the people business, right? So our tribe here we look after them. They look after us. I mean, in a perfect world, you know, you have a team so strong, you don't recognize who the leader is, right? Like, you know, and that's what we strive for here. I would say that we've always paid a generous beyond living wage, especially for our frontline people, the housekeepers, and because this is a job that's tough. Like that's a brutal job. You know, and again, imagine you're not just going up and down an elevator, but you got to find a housekeeper that can clean that apartment on the second floor, get back into parking, drive across the city, go to another apartment, because our inventory is in a myriad. Yeah.
They're not just pushing the cart down the hallway and cleaning this room and that room and this room.
No, sir, they are not. They're not even going like on the same floor, right? Or in the same tower. So you compound that with the fact that, you know, we have a very generous, the government programs here have been very, very generous to those that are not working or have lost their jobs, and as they should. But now it's time to go back to work, and I think that, you know, with the election and everything happening, we'll see how what that's going to look like moving forward. What kind of support or back to work programs the government here will, both provincially and federally, what that might look like. But a lot of people moved out of the city because they lost their jobs, and it's an expensive place to live. Like, it's one of the most expensive places in the world to live.
Are you seeing this phenomena too, where people are allowed to work from home and they say, well, if I can work from home, I'm going to move over to one of these other beautiful areas of BC and not live in city center Vancouver?
100%, we're seeing that, and that's caused our housing here to be like artificially inflated in other areas. So you see, like, you know, I mean, Vancouver's a peninsula, so it's like there's only so much real estate in the city of Vancouver, you know, and I mean, it's just, we go up, right? So as people move farther and farther into, you know, we live in a beautiful place. And you're absolutely right. They move to the suburbs, or, you know, in urban areas, or even, you know, more remote areas where they can have a lifestyle that is fantastic. Why wouldn't you do that? So I think there's a lot of that. I think it's very similar to what you're experiencing in the US, as I understand it. But it's really, really tough to find talent, and it's, you know, I think that's going to be that way for quite some time. So
yeah, I think we're going to see that everywhere for quite some time. I want to ask you a more fun question. I'm getting text messages from mutual friends over here, Wendy. Okay, I got a text asking, and I don't know what this is in regards to. It says, ask Wendy the funniest thing that's happened at LivinLocal since LivinLocal's been a thing.
Oh my God. The funniest thing?
The funniest thing.
There's so many things. I mean, every day is really, really funny here. I mean, what would I think is the funniest thing that's ever happened? I don't know. Like, I mean, there's weird stuff that happens all the time. I think
give us some weird stuff.
So I live, you know, I don't live in the middle of the sticks or anything like that. I live in a place called Maple Ridge, about 40 minutes from my office here in Burnaby. And, you know, so randomly I'm looking out, I live, you know, by the river or whatever. And we get critters and stuff, like, you know, you get the odd coyote, you might get a raccoon or something like that. And certainly there's a number of cougars that come by for Wine Wednesdays. But I would say to you that so randomly I'm looking out my window, and all of a sudden, like, literally you see this big thing, and it's like, what the actual heck is that? It's a turkey. And Barb Hale knows this because she has turkeys. Again, thank God she's on my board, because I was like, buddy, I got this turkey. Like, I think it's a turkey. I'm sure it is. So then I have this turkey land in my yard, and yes, I know it's a hen because I Googled it and Google said, but I didn't want to make pass any judgments, right, with everybody's being sensitive and stuff like that. So I named it Bob, right, because it could be Bob or Bobby or whatever. And, you know, we hadn't got that far into our relationship. So, you know, it became my emotional support bird. And so I hope that's not what people are talking about, but it just got like, so now Bob has like #save Bob the turkey. Bob had a bunch of baby chicks, I guess they're called, after she brooded. She sat on a brood of eggs. That's the technical turkey speak for that. And she had 4 of them. I named them the Dixie after the Dixie Chicks. We lost Laura probably to a raccoon or whatever, but yeah, anyways. So yeah, we have all kinds of, like, there's so many funny things that happen
this
here.
Is great.
This is so clients that are like to your point, where they're all different, where a guy says, you know, like, oh, I would like to have, I like that stove that's in my friend's apartment. He's like across town, and I like his stove better, and, you know, stuff like that. Right. And it's like, well, so could you get me one of those stoves? Right. And sure. Yes, of course we can. Here's how much, right? Like, it's just, there's just so many weird things that happen in people in the audience got to have weird stories of things that have happened.
People are loving your Bob the turkey story. Robin saying, my son is a huge birder.
Yeah.
Love your new team edition. Robin, has he seen Big Year? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, speaking of big years, big year for my girl Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big move.
Look
Yeah,
at
no, I
that.
mean it's a little depressing when you're like you don't have a lot of contact and people are like phoning up going like, "How's Bob?" And I'm like, "You know what? Screw Bob, okay? I'm over Bob." Right? Like, you know, and you know, it's just like I don't even, you know, cuz people were like, "Could we come by and see the chicks or whatever?" And I was like, I don't even know. People are, it's weird. People are, it's,
This is
yeah.
great. Marilee, Wendy, happy to send you some of my backyard wild turkeys. Gertrude is my favorite. People are everywhere having turkeys. This is
I'd
great.
never seen one before. Like, I mean, I thought they came from Save On Foods, right? Like, you know, I mean, I didn't think much about
I thought
it,
they
you
came from
know?
Save On Foods. I thought they came in a butterball bag with
Yeah,
a,
done.
self-basting and a
Yeah.
little pop thing. So talking about, temp housing and furnished accommodations, we're seeing a lot of activity in the space from a mergers and acquisitions standpoint. A lot of people doing a lot of things in the space. It also, I think, makes me realize how much bigger the space was than I even thought. We were talking a little bit before the show, but we didn't really get into it. The acquisition of the apartment service by Silverdor. What are your thoughts on some of this M&A activity, Wendy?
Well, I think we're at, you know, that particular, I mean, I thought that was interesting because, you know, it's it's agency business, right? So I think I find that there's a shift that's going on, and clearly, you know, those folks at Silverdor are pretty smart. They're pretty aggressively growth strategy kind of a group. I mean, you got those folks like Saunders, and you got Zeus and different companies like that where, you know, they're more on the provider side, but you're looking at, you know, Silverdor and apartment service being on the agency side. So I wonder what that looks like with, you know, moving forward, when we're certainly seeing a lot of clients booking direct, like they seem to be skipping that process now. So I don't know if they had more time and they were looking at, you know, how to develop their own immediate supply chain versus looking for someone to manage that supply chain process for them. So I thought it was really interesting because apartment services was owned by, you know, Charlie and Vanessa McCrow, who are just like probably one of my, like, clearly, like, I love them. Nessa's amazing. Charlie's hysterical. Really super smart. And of course, they've still got room space over there in the UK. So they've still got the provider aspect because they've always managed to do both really well. Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of that. I mean, I think we started to see some of that percolating before COVID. I think we're going to start to see a lot. I think the space will get smaller before it gets bigger. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Richard's saying, think the Silverdor, the apartment service deal was planned rather than acquired as distressed. Could be wrong, but don't think it was a takeover in those terms.
No, it was not. No,
Yeah.
It was. I know it was not. It
So
was.
maybe more of a
I think
merger
it
than
was.
an acquisition kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, you know, I think that you get to build something. You do a really great job of building something, and I mean, I don't know for a fact, but my guess would be is that you get to a certain point where you're like, you want to be able to enjoy, you know, like enjoy what you built, like, and enjoy your lives. And I mean, these are a couple people that are super in love, and they're they're wonderful people. So good for them. I say, you know, go knock it out of the park, literally. And, you know, I think they're gonna spend a little bit of less time working and a little bit more time playing, which is, you know, I'm hoping Charlie invites me back for fishing, right? You know. And when we went for tarpon in Puerto Rico, all he caught was a seagull. I got the big one.
Did you get a tarpon down in Puerto Rico?
Oh yeah, I did. And he was really good natured about it, considering he got a stork. He hooked a stork. Sorry, Charlie. Sorry,
Charlie. Veronica Brooms, hello from Sheffield, UK. Hi, Wendy and Ben. I'm joining late, but enjoying the discussion. Richard says, hey, 10 years marketing manager at the apartment service. Hey, Richard. Awesome. Jan, I need to intern train in corporate housing area I do not know enough about, and I agree, Ben, the space is so much bigger than I thought. You know, Wendy, we could talk for a long time, and I look forward to one day meeting you in person and really learning more about you personally, because it sounds like we have a lot of mutual friends, and I can't wait to really form more of this relationship in person. But we have about 5 minutes left, and that's usually a great time to do our top 5. You got a top 5 today?
I do. I have my top 5 was top 5 accomplishments.
Accomplishments. Love it.
Yep.
Let's get positive. This is great. Top 5 accomplished. All right. What's number 5?
Well, obviously getting to work with a team and a bunch of like totally dedicated, loyal people in the space, like, and just really seeing the measure during these, when you're in the trenches alongside with your fellow foot soldiers, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun working side by side with people and coming through something and then getting to the other end of it and being like, wow, we did that. That's awesome. I agree. I love it. Number 4.
I think number 4 for me would be becoming the managing director for the Canadian Advisory Group for CHPA in Canada. I thought that was really it's usually a position that you're voted in. I don't know that anybody else wanted the job because I was in by acclamation, but I'm really excited to represent Canada in this capacity. And I considered it an honor.
That's really cool. What does the MD of the CAG for Chipotle do?
Well, I mean, we look at some of the concerns and the trends that are going on. We try and herd, I guess we herd cats. We got a really great group of volunteers. So what we don't do is cash a check. We are a 100% volunteer group, and we support through network events, and we create a space and dialogue and a platform for the Canadian providers to be heard. And share what we learn in our adventures with the association in the U.S.
That's awesome. I've never been to a Chipotle event, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think at ERC there's going to be one, which Bob and I were talking about.
That's why God gave you 2 kidneys, Ben.
There you go.
Yeah, you got to go to Chipotle. It's all
one for
happening
moving, one for corporate housing. I love it. Yeah. That's sweet. That's great. That's why God gave you 2 kidneys. That's the best quote of the day. You know what? You buried the lead on that one, Wendy. All right, number 3.
Well, one of the biggest accomplishments, probably for sure, and I'm not sure that I'm sure I'm not alone on this, but like learning that not telling someone that they're on mute, they're on mute, could be quite therapeutic.
Oh my gosh.
It's true. Oh my gosh. True story. Legit.
Best hot mic. Give me the best hot mic moment, Wendy. So it's the opposite of it's a cold mic. That's a muted mic.
Yeah, okay. No, it's fantastic. When
so they're on mute and then there's talking.
And you know, because you just get so tired of these Zoom meetings that you're like, spend a little game. Like, what do you think they're saying? What if they said this? You know, and then you can. It's like a TikTok, right? You know.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
True.
Number 2.
Number 2, last 12 months, being recognized by our industry peers and receiving the Global Partner of the Year award from Abota by Reside in the 360 team in a year that I don't know, never was. I mean, it was, that was a big one. That was really, it was an unbelievable boost for our tribe here for sure. That was amazing.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. And number 1.
Well, clearly being asked to sit and chat with, Ben Cross, the international man of mystery, and not being starstruck.
Oh my gosh, Wendy, you're too much. This is fantastic. I agree with Aaron. Wendy, you're hilarious. Thanks for the burst of dopamine this afternoon. Everybody's having a great time listening to you, Wendy. You got such great stories, so much personality, such great insights too. Richard saying mute, love it. Yeah, for sure. People are loving the idea of the personal board of directors. You got Caroline's wheels turning here.
Yeah, do it, Caroline. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. It's really, it's well worth the effort.
That's great. That's fantastic. I want to remind everybody before we adjourn here, it is Hunger Action Month. So Thursday, we're going to be doing our telethon where we got corporate folks, RMC folks, providers, everybody coming together. We probably got 10, a dozen, I don't know, people coming together. We're going to hopefully raise up to $50,000 for Move for Hunger on Thursday. We're up to a little over 10K already. Everybody that donates is going to be getting T-shirts, socks. It's going to be fantastic. Make sure to also right now follow the Love and Relo page on LinkedIn. If you do not follow the Love and Relo page on LinkedIn, you are going to miss out on really cool segments that we've got coming up, including Her Story Live, hosted by Peggy Smith. And we got a bunch of phenomenal women talking about stories from a female vantage point, women in business vantage point. So follow Love and Relo. You're going to get that as well. And then big shout out to the team here at Love and Relo, super producer Stacy. Appreciate you so much. Couldn't do it without you. I come on, Wendy's over here.
She's like, we just need to clone her.
She's
we
just
could solve a lot
Stacey,
of problems.
on,
and we could just DNA sample, Stace, just up here, just
yeah,
one time. It's fine.
There you
go.
We'll
only hurt for a minute.
Stacy's big north of the border. Tim Quirk, shout out to you as well. Shout out to Jana Chazanowski and Rio. Appreciate all y'all. Appreciate everybody who tuned in today and watched. We couldn't do it without you. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Hit that applause button for Wendy. Wendy, it's been great having you here. Do you want to leave us maybe just a final word?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity. And, I look forward when we all can be together, really. And we'll hug it out. You and I are hugging it out. That's what's going to happen.
I'm down.
Mask on, mask off. I'm telling you, we're hugging it out. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, Ben.
Wendy, the pleasure.